positive woman looks upon her femaleness and her fertility as part of her purpose and her power. She starts with the knowledge that America is the greatest country in the world, and she must do her part to keep it that way. The positive woman is pro-femme and pro-life and pro-American.
What a beautiful morning to be a woman, and the best possible time to be a Republican.
Welcome to Stepford.
Oh, I got the pot roast in the oven, and I think I have some extra time to talk to you guys about Tradwives. So a Tradwife is a shortened version of traditional and wife. This internet subculture promotes gender roles and often reflects a conservative worldview. To be trad is to seek a wholesome return to the social norms and gender roles of the past, when life for women was supposedly better, safer, and stronger. In short, trad life comes down to 3 elements: the family unit, common sense, and self-reliance, writes author 𝒸𝓅𝒾𝓃𝓃𝓈. I'll be referencing this book heavily for this section of the video, The Women of the Far Right, Social Media Influencers, and Online Radicalization. So with 𝒸𝓅𝒾𝓃𝓃𝓈's book, she did a years-long journey of following far-right female influencers to get a better sense of how these women help recruit and eventually radicalize these followers into a far-right agenda. On social media, Tradwives can be seen cooking, cleaning, homemaking, and overall doing things that in the 1950s would be considered being a good wife. The subculture has been around since 2017, but it really took off in 2020 when Tradwife Elena Kate Petit showcased her tradwifery in a BBC interview. Elena wanted to give a deeper look into her life as well as dispel some of the negative narratives surrounding tradwives.
I wouldn't kind of expect my husband to come home from a long day's work and have to cook for me, because my role is being at home. My job is essentially housework. My early 20s, I was the typical career girl, you know, because the advice that was coming at me from the media at the time, shows like Sex and the City. We've got the real housewives that you see, and they're, you know, ridiculously wealthy, don't even have to do their own cleaning, and their lives are pretty much a mess. I joined social media and I realised quite quickly there was almost like an underground movement of other women who felt the same. People crave that time where you could leave your front door open and know that, you know, you're safe. And times are changing so fast, and we don't even know the identity of our country right now.
My introduction into Tradwives was through the influencer Nara Smith.
Here's everything that my husband eats in a day / what I cook for him. Here's everything my husband ate in a day / what I cooked for him. Here's everything my husband eats in a day / what I cook for him.
I had seen her before. She basically like cooks for her husband and eventually her kids. She makes food from scratch in these like amazing garments. And she has this like calming tone and this very like chic stylistic version to homemaking. I guess you could say she's serving food while also serving dinner. And despite Nara having similar aesthetics to Tradwives, I wouldn't classify her as a tradwife because she doesn't have that same conservative ideology pushing that a lot of them have.
I am actually a full-time working mom. They use me as this poster child of this like very traditional wife, and I'm not. There's things that Lucky does that I guess traditional men wouldn't do. There's things that I do, like having a full-time career and having Lucky be home watching the children while I travel for 2 weeks, and I'm not confined to the kitchen. I cook and do things because I love to do it, not because I have to.
After I moved on from Nara Smith, I started to dig deeper in research, and that's how I found 𝒸𝓅𝒾𝓃𝓃𝓈's book. In regards to tradwifery, journalist Seyward Darby observed in her book, Sisters in Hate, what qualifies as traditional isn't precise. The only requirement is that it derive from a mythical, unspoiled version of history and celebrate clearly defined masculine and feminine archetypes. They look to the past to map their future. They believe that everything was simply better in the good old days, ignoring the vast social and racial inequalities that drove progressive political activism throughout the 20th century. In the run-up to the 2020 U.S. election, President Donald Trump tweeted, "The suburban housewife will be voting for me. They want safety and they are thrilled that I ended the long-running program where low-income housing would invade their neighborhood." This racist dog whistle pointed to the fear of an invasion of the suburbs by Black and other non-white Americans disproportionately represented in low-income housing. Indeed, the phenomenon known as white flight, the large-scale migration of white American families from urban neighborhoods that were becoming more racially diverse to homogeneously white suburbs, defined housing segregation in the 1950s and 60s, and is a legacy that continues today. In the nostalgic world of far-right tradwives, the image of a white housewife in a white suburb reigns supreme. To be sure, not every tradwife is a white supremacist, but the community's hunger for the distinct boundaries of the past makes it vulnerable for far-right messaging. Tradwives and white nationalists share core objectives: more babies, myths, America's or the West's moral decline, and iconography, happy heterosexual families. Such close proximity, particularly on social media, makes the exchange of ideas a straightforward prospect.
I'm 20 years old and I chose to be a tradwife instead of going to college because I know God put women on this earth to be wives, mothers, and a man's help, not start a career and be independent. I want to be as healthy as I can be for my future children and birth as many kids as God wills, so here's what I do and eat in a day. Usually I sun my genitals with a chicken lamp because it's infrared energy and it's winter, I can't do it with the sun. This is my butter turned Sally, her name's Sally. I eat beef bones as well, fertility maxing, so yummy. I love beef bones so much. DHA maxing, breast milk maxing. Raw liver I love, as you guys know if you follow me. Oxtail for collagen. This is just all fertility maxing, so good for kids. And of course, deny your flesh for Christ and go to church, yeah.
There's a frequent saying that a lot of the tradwives say, which is submit unto your husband. And I'm like, girl.
I submit and I serve my husband. This is a biblical thing, so don't twist this into something that it's not. It is a blessing to be my husband's helpmate, and the Bible has the man of the household, not the woman, so he leads.
Submission gets a bad rep because it's seen as slavery, but submission is a trust and it's teamwork. It means the woman serves the husband and the husband lays down his life for the wife, because women are controlled by their emotions and men are controlled by logic.
For me as a wife, my biblical role is to be the helpmate to my husband. That does not mean I'm less than you. That does not mean that I am above you, because that's the order of how it's supposed to go.
Charlie Kirk took to his show to applaud Taylor Swift on getting married because he felt this would help spread a similar message among the millions of Swifties out there.
Up until this point, that's not a great role model for young women, to wait all the way until you're 35 and just put your career first. It's a great chance for Taylor Swift to get married and have a ton of children. She could inspire a lot of young ladies to want to get married. Reject feminism. Submit to your husband, Taylor. You're not in charge.
And then soon after Taylor's album, Life of a Showgirl, was released, Taylor was hit with tradwives allegations because of some of the lyrics in her music. The blonde pop star may be marrying the football player, but the moral of this all-American love story is the opposite of the tradwife narrative they've been trying to inspire. In fact, getting engaged at 35 to a highly successful man who worshipped you after 2 decades of testing out different romantic partners, all while prioritizing your career, investing in other meaningful relationships, and developing a multitude of personal interests is a progressive example, not a conservative one. And to me, I don't see anything wrong with wanting to live a traditional life. In fact, tradwives shine a light on the underappreciated and underpaid homemakers, childcare providers, and parents, and that's something I don't see being discussed on social media. Speaking with The Cut on tradwife content, 𝒞𝒃𝓃𝓃𝓁 is the founder of a group called Mother Untitled, working to redefine ideas of stay-at-home motherhood. The danger is that we are in a moment where household labor is being rethought. COVID had the impact of pulling the curtains back on invisible labor, and we are at a fragile point. Progress is being made and real change is possible. We do not want to go back to the mommy wars. That was created by the media, and it pitted women against each other. We're seeing that exact same dynamic today.
These housewives are the last gasp of the patriarchy, brainwashed to believe that if they don't play the game, they will lose the love and protection of men.
The mommy wars concept first appeared in Child magazine in the 80s, playing off social anxiety about the increasing number of mothers joining the workforce. According to the logic of the mommy wars, women who stay at home to raise their families are the natural enemies of women who leave for work. It's unclear to what extent these two sides were adversaries to begin with, but the media narrative stuck, and the concept has been riffed on continuously ever since. The overlap between tradwives and the far right is their anti-feminist rhetoric, and that rhetoric may appeal to a disgruntled, recovering feminist.
A threat to the traditional American family. The threat of the women's liberation movement. I am not against women working outside the home. That's their choice. But what I am against is a small, elitist group of Northeastern establishment liberals putting down homemakers. Now, the libbers love to say that they're dedicated to choice. But if you dare to choose the path of full-time mother, Well, there must be something wrong with you. I mean, if you don't feel enslaved, well, you're just dumb and unenlightened. In fact, you're not even a person.
For my generation, I grew up being told that you need a career and the boss babe era, right? And I think a lot of women are realizing that they want to embrace this natural role as a woman and be a mother, be a wife, and that is enough. You don't need a career to feel fulfilled as a woman.
While the lean-in girl boss movement of the early 2010s encouraged women to do more and work harder, critics characterize it as elitist and out of touch. By the time the pandemic hit, women were up against an always-on work culture, stagnating wages, and an eroded social safety net, with a now worsening caregiving crisis. In a society where women already shoulder the majority of unpaid domestic work, staying home to focus on the household full-time might be preferable, though also a privileged choice.
Oh, I'm sorry, but I'm really tired, baby.
Dance with me.
No, Jack, just stop. I just finished a 30-hour shift. I sewed up 12 people, and I gotta be back in 6 hours, and I'm so tired. I just need to go to bed, okay?
If you push women out into the workforce, women are going to find themselves with 2 full-time jobs. And they're going to be exhausted and unhappy and feel like they're not doing either well.
If you try to have a career while you have your kids, it is not realistic. There is no such thing as balance. That is such a myth.
So I'm wondering what your advice is for balancing those two desires since women can't have it all.
Remember that your degree fades, but your godliness does not. Don't worry about the school. Don't worry about the job. I actually think that that's some form of feminism, to be so caught up in I have to have this career and I have to have this and I have to that. It's a distraction. I think that anxiety is what feminism is all about.
Far-right women constantly ridicule and satirize ideas that have become popular with feminism, such as patriarchy, oppression, and misogyny. These notions, they argue, are merely feminist and SJW exaggerations to advance an agenda that seeks to disrupt something quite literally: the nuclear family, and by extension, society at large.
You get all different varying degrees of feminists. You get the ones that seem to think that our decision to stay home is somehow impacting upon them, you know, that we're throwing it back in their face, that they fought for equality in the workplace.
Tradwives coming online to be like, I just don't speak unless my husband speaks to me. I just stay at home, like, making everything from scratch. And it's like, then why are you making a video? Why do you have a career? Why do you have followers? Why are you making any money? Like, go and let your husband provide for you. Did your husband let you say this right now? It's a complete hypocrisy to it. So they're making money off of telling other women not to have a job.
They don't want women to have the 19th Amendment, which is the right to vote, or have rights over their own bodies. Why they have opinions. Being able to be a woman and have an opinion online is already a form of feminism. And if you don't believe in that, then just don't post your opinion online. Have your husband do it for you.
I get those comments all the time, like, how are you a tradwife? You're online. And it's like, well, life is changing and we live in an online world. And I've been using that to my advantage to really try and inspire younger women.
These far-right women perform femininity instead of feminism. It's a performance because femininity or masculinity is something that is imitated and learned, not something one is born with. These far-right women, however, view femininity as a natural biological condition based on sex. Kathryn Rodenberg, an associate professor at the University of Nottingham, whose work examines neoliberal feminism, notes that in championing so-called traditional values, Tradwives also push against aspects of modern society, including hookup culture and the objectification of women. The idea of a man who protects and provides for his wife, then, might offer a woman a sense of control and stability. Though it's worth noting that fixed gender roles in the 50s did not offer relief from domestic abuse or overwork. These influences rarely, if ever, challenge traditional notions of femininity as tied to reproductive abilities.
This cuteness right here that I get to look at all day, that I get to hang out with, okay? I don't understand why this lifestyle is so controversial. In my opinion, I've been the boss girl. Yes, I do run a business, but I do that on the side. You know, live the boss babe lifestyle, and I hated it. Now I just get to bake bread and hang out with babies all day. It's the best thing in the world.
By reverting to traditional gender norms as a reactionary movement to feminism, these women may be putting themselves in an even smaller box as just the wife or the mother. Motherhood entitled far-right women to make social, political, and cultural claims given that their value is recognized in its role. The fundamental role of women in the far-right is thus to weaponize motherhood for the movement. White women have historically played an important function in maternalist framings that can motivate women to participate in conservative and even extremist movements.
Here it is. I get to give birth under a Trump presidency. My fellow white people who got out to vote, thank you for not being ashamed to be traditional, to be Christian, to be conservative, and to be white. We are trying to keep this country great so we can hand it on to the next generation.
The role of women in advancing white supremacy as resistance to the civil rights movement and integration during the 1960s continues in the American far right today.
That's why when Jessica Black's 7-year-old son asked if he could also dress as a member of the white supremacist group, the Ku Klux Klan, she made the costume for him.
It's supposed to be white with white, black with black, man with woman, and all of that. That's what the KKK stands for. The KKK every year raises money to donate to the St. Jude.
Will you still wear the costume?
Yes.
Look at historical photos of mothers and their children dressed in the same Ku Klux Klan gear as the men. The sociologist Kathleen Blee observed in person that children of KKK members are socialized into the organization from an early age, attending events such as cross burnings and assigned minor administrative tasks such as folding pamphlets. Children's involvement in these activities not only benefit the internal running of the organization, but also equally promote far-right propaganda of reproducing the white race. And the use of women as propaganda for a right-wing movement is one of the central roles of the Tradwife Republican. With Elane's book, she lays out two important terms: the far-right and the alt-right. So you could think of the far right as the extreme right of the political spectrum. And so under that umbrella of the far right is the alt-right. The alt-right is a modern and predominantly online movement that focuses on the ideas of white nationalism and white identity. The movement is based on the idea that the white identity is under attack from multiculturalism, political correctness, and social justice. The key tenets of the alt-right are overt racism, anti-Semitism, nativism, anti-feminism, and frequently neo-Nazi stances. Back in 2017, when Tradwife Aaliyah Stewart satirically called for a white baby challenge on Twitter, she pointed to the theory of the great replacement of white people.
The Great Replacement. The Great Replacement is a term coined by French writer Renaud Camus, referring to what he views as the irreversible overthrow of France and its culture by Muslim immigrants from the Middle East and North Africa. The Great Replacement is a very simple concept. You have one people, and in the space of a single generation, you have a different people.
Eric is the founder of this whites-only community, which has grown to 40 people. He's also a major online figure.
It was mostly conversations online, becoming more familiar with crime statistics, racial IQ differences, scientific study of human differences, persuaded me that this isn't something that can just be overridden by a little bit of liberalism and equality and government programs.
With diversity, we've forgotten how to interact with each other because there are people from all around the world in your communities. No one knows how to get along anymore.
I've seen what happens when rural white towns get overrun with people who are not from there, and it usually does kind of result in chaos. When I was exposed to more multicultural places, it was, cities that felt more dangerous. I was very liberal at one point. And, being targeted because of the color of my skin and called racist for things that had nothing to do with skin color really kind of opened my eyes to how other people view white people.
What is under attack? We are able to observe attacks on our people. We are justified in feeling a little bit by proxy attack. When they tear down the 5th, the 4th, the 18th statue of one of our ancestors, they're actually symbolically attacking us as a people. We feel attacked. Our women feel attacked. Our children feel attacked.
I feel very attacked!
Relax, relax. I think the far-right Christian nationalism that has been increasing within the U.S. has rightfully made people suspicious and paranoid of anything that's in the mainstream that could somewhat push that similar ideology.
The role that Christian nationalism played on January 6th. Christian nationalists believe that America is a Christian nation. Indeed, God's chosen nation, and must be defended as such. Several prominent members of the Dominionist movement, like the influencer Charlie Kirk, identify openly as Christian nationalists. Evangelical support for Trump was no aberration. It was, rather, the culmination of evangelicals' embrace of militant masculinity, an ideology that enshrines patriarchal authority and condones the callous display of power at home and abroad.
We will stop the steal. We're going to walk down, and I'll be there with you. We're going to walk down to the Capitol, and we fight. We fight like hell. And if you don't fight like hell, you're not going to have a country anymore.
Consider Christian nationalism to be a cultural framework, a collection of myths, traditions, symbols, narratives, and value systems that idealizes and advocates a fusion of Christianity with American civic life. Understood in this light, Christian nationalism contends that America has been and should always be distinctively Christian from top to bottom, in its self-identity, interpretations of its own history, sacred symbols, cherished values, and public policies, and it aims to keep it this way. Experts on right-wing Christianity were soon able to show how this symbology provided visual evidence for the Christian nationalist dimensions of the day. The Independent Charismatic Network played an outsized role in organizing and supporting the Capitol insurrection. The Independent Charismatics and other Christian groups were organizing on behalf of the president, too. How independent charismatic groups and leaders hosted major rallies and Stop the Steal marches, engaged in spiritual warfare for Trump, and formed a significant presence in D.C. that day. Though this is just one slice of the Christian landscape in America, most Christians, be they Catholic or Protestant, belong to a formal denomination of Christianity. Pentecostalism is a subset of Protestantism that emphasizes direct personal experience of God. Sarah Palin was the first Pentecostal to join a major party ticket. The independent subset of Pentecostalism is distinct for its rejection of typical denominational governance. Rather than standard top-down church hierarchies, the independents form a loosely organized network of people, many of whom see themselves as present-day apostles and prophets. The independent churches are invested in recreating the miraculous environment of the early church and creating a revival movement towards what they understand to be end times. Independent charismatic communities are the epicenter of Christian Trumpism. One of the elements of the independent charismatic world that Taylor emphasizes as crucial to understanding popular Christian attachment to Trump is modern-day prophecy. Trump has benefited from charismatic prophecies that go back almost 2 decades now. There were also hundreds of prophets who proclaimed in 2020 that Trump would be reelected. Belief in prophecies about Donald Trump was both strongly correlated with belief in Trump's claims of election fraud and a major accelerant for extreme political views, including an openness to supporting violence or lawbreaking in the pursuit of political goals. The story of how Trump and Trumpism came to have such deep ties to the charismatic sector of American Christianity is fascinating. And if there is one thing besides his fame that smoothed his path for victory in 2016, it was that he had cultivated ties in the evangelical movement for years. His main contact was the televangelist Paula White.
Wherever I go, God rules. When I walk on White House grounds, God walks on White House grounds. I had every right and authority to declare the White House as holy ground because I was standing there, and where I stand is holy.
To say no to President Trump would be saying no to God. And I won't do that.
Trump was always more like a televangelist than a politician. When 2016 came around, Trump leaned on his connections to White to solidify his candidacy. It was not unheard of for Republican candidates to reach out to the charismatic world. Trump just did it more and better, and placed White at the center of his evangelical outreach. Recall Sarah Palin. Paula White and the early involvement of charismatic Christians in the Trump campaign created an early permission structure for Trumpism among evangelicals that Trump is a culmination of decades of political organizing on the Christian right. He became their savior because he spoke the language that tied them and him and the grievances of the alt-right together against political correctness, civil and human rights, and at its core, pluralistic, secular, liberal democracy.
Overlaps between conservatism and the far-right boundary has become increasingly blurred through the recent mainstreaming of far-right ideas into conservatism since Donald Trump's rise. And no mainstream woman embodies this blurred line between conservatism and the far-right movement than Sydney Sweeney. In the male gaze video, we talked about the American Eagle ad debacles.
The president tweeted about the jeans ad. It was surreal. It was surreal. White people shouldn't joke about genetic superiority. Like, that was kind of like the criticism, broadly speaking. I just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that specifically.
I think that when I have an issue that I want to speak about, people will hear.
She was given an opportunity to push back. She didn't. Therefore, she did on it.
That's also why we see a lot of the voting statistics that we see in the United States around white women voting for Republicans who they know are fascist, who they know are authoritarian. It's because adjacency to power is oftentimes more important to people than freedom. And everyone's liberation. Because maybe they'll be nice and carry me under their umbrella of power. And they'll spare me then. Yes, maybe they'll spare me, which they will not. You are actually going to be on the front lines of receiving their violence.
Now keep that in your mind. Now listen to this one from a Christian nationalist pastor.
It is not inherently evil to own another human being. It is very important that every Christian affirm what I just said. And not only should they affirm it, every Christian in today's society should be able to defend what I just said, okay?
And I bet your mind immediately jumped to black people, because that's how we're wired, to connect slavery with black people. But he said other human beings, who has been the group of people that for the last 2,000 years in Western countries and in the colonies that they settled have been in one way or another subjugated by their male counterparts. White women. What that pastor is saying is not just for us, minorities, it's also for white women. Because you can tradwife all you want, but at the end of the day, you still have a framework of laws that allow you to step back from it. The white men who are pro-eugenics and pro-owning other human beings do not like that, especially because all of these men have one preoccupation in common. See women as baby-making machines for the continuation of whiteness in a world in which the demographic cliff of Western countries is driving the far right to insane levels of alarm. So yes, a jeans advert can be that deep.
Sydney was positioned as a MAGA icon, and her subsequent red carpet looks were criticized for being Mar-a-Lago face-coded. Alt-right activist Lauren Southern commented that those who promote pro-white nationalism and associate the West specifically with Caucasians believes that white nationalism isn't inherently racist because taking pride in your own race and being proud of your own heritage doesn't mean you have to think other races are bad. You just happen to think your own race is fine.
In the United States of America, you don't have to apologize for being white anymore.
People aren't exactly pro-white. We're kind of beaten down with the history of slavery and oppression, and I don't want that stuff passed on to my kids.
I carry this much white guilt. Yeah, 0. I am free of all and any guilt for being white, which is pretty amazing in this age of anti-whiteness when it's trendy to hate white people. Be proud that your people, European people, have shared with the world knowledge, innovations, and discoveries. If the person hating on you doesn't think so, they're free to live far away from us in a third world country. I'm sorry, a developing country.
Here, Lauren was falsely equating white pride with the identity politics of social justice warriors and describing the reaction of some in the alt-right who believe that progressivism has demonized white people and consequently see the need for advocacy on behalf of Caucasians in the name of all ethnicities being represented equally. This mindset is a reactionary backlash against the demand for recognition by minority communities who have faced systematic discrimination and are seeking equality and dignity.
They are absolutely crucial to spreading the ideology, but they are also crucial to spreading the ideology with a smile and making it seem palatable.
Have more babies than you can afford.
It was women that got Trump elected. And I guess to be really edgy, it was also women that got Hitler elected. Although I think women are too emotional for leading roles in politics, this is the time for female nationalists to be loud. Why? Men. Women have a special power to inspire and motivate men.
Yes, it's certainly true that the presence of women kind of humanizes and also almost justifies a movement.
Don't let anyone disenfranchise you because you're a young man, especially a young white male man. Don't ever let anyone talk down to you. We need strong men out there.
Being trad is also about being anti something, not just pro-tradition, but anti-progress.
It's impossible to know if Sydney Sweeney and American Eagle were actively participating in a sort of rage bait campaign. and the subsequent flopping of Sydney's movies Americana, Eden, and Christie after the ad campaign was interesting. The fact that these right-wingers supported Sydney because she seemingly was appealing to the male gaze and was kind of dipping her toe in white supremacy didn't go watch the movies is interesting. And so how far can conservative hate and spite go when it comes to supporting the women? There's an amazing quote by 𝒞𝒃𝓃𝓃𝓁𝓃𝓃𝓁 in a 2024 cover story for New York that'll take us nicely into the third part of the video. When your value is tied inextricably to sexualized standards contrived by white men, you will not be appreciated, sometimes not even heard, unless you meet those standards. Yet if you do hit their often shifting aesthetic marks, you risk being degraded by those same men, not taken seriously as their peers, but rather understood as their ornament.
Well, I think we should focus specifically on our biggest concerns.
Hey, listen, could you take notes for us? You know, so that we have an unofficial record. Well, you probably have the best penmanship of anyone here.
Oh, yes, of course. Let me write back.